Recently, I was in an Uber ride. My driver's name was James, and when I got into the car, I chirped, "Hi, James, how's it going?" And my driver responded by completely ignoring me. And I thought to myself, God, what is his problem? Ugh, now this ride is going to be so awkward. This guy has some screwed up anger issues. What kind of jerk decides to take a job picking up strangers in their car all day if they're this pissed off all the time? I bet he's got a bad relationship with his kids. I wonder if he's married. Is he wearing a ring? How pathetic that he is so wrapped up in his bad mood that he can't just take a moment to feign excitement and say hi to me. A couple quiet miles later, we reach my destination. James pulls up behind a 1967 Chevy Impala that's parked on my block, points excitedly to the car, and lets out a noise. It's then that I realize James isn't rude. He's not socially awkward. He's not angry. James is deaf. Judgment. Judgment. It's a natural characteristic of being a human, that primitive habit that informs us if we're safe. But this primal survival instinct that is meant to help the mind make meaning is now being used to separate, to disassociate, to make one person less human than another. And I'll admit, I have been a very judgmental person. Yes, I've had a judgmental thought or two or 1,000 in my short life so far, and each time I get the same feeling in my body. It starts to feel like there's something crawling on my skin, like I can't possibly sit still, which makes sense because when I'm judging, I'm too busy searching, digging, hunting for something wrong to find about this other person. After my Uber driver let out a sound that let me know he had no way of communicating with me in the way that I was used to communicating with most other people, something in me softened. Suddenly, my witch hunt for wrongness was over. My judgment flag came down and my white flag raised up, a humble surrender to the power of learning something about someone before deciding that you know better. Suddenly, humanness began to blossom as my interest was ignited. This went from being some man who's ruining my night with his anger problem to being James, a person who loves vintage cars. Now I start to wonder about what else he loves. What's his favorite place, his favorite person, favorite memory? I wonder if he's got kids, and I wonder if they speak sign language. I wonder if he is equally as nervous and self-conscious about his deafness as I was offended when I assumed that he was ignoring me. The end of judgment begins at your curiosity. I've seen how the power of a good personal story has opened up corridors of connection that were otherwise barricaded by what I assumed to be true. Because within each person there is a waterfall of experiences and hurts and desires. Maybe the person you're busy judging has a family history more fascinating than anyone you've ever known, or has struggled with grief more than anyone should ever have to, or has seen parts of the world that you've never even heard of. What do you miss when you are too busy obsessing over your perceived experience of another person? I know you've been judged before. We all have. You've had that experience of other people's perceptions permeating your personhood while you are left powerless, unable to defend your character, unable to say, if only this person knew. And if you're willing, can you think of a time when you've been on the other side, when you've been the judger? When you have seen with that eyesight that is so short-sighted you don't actually see a person but a problem? Well, from one judgmental person to another, it looks like we've got work to do. Because judgment separates the I from the we, disassociates the you from the me, keeps me from connecting with who you are because the mind does not allow for mending when otherness is the only thing I'm choosing to see. I am owning how judgmental I have been, and I am trying to be better. I'm using curiosity to override my critiquing. I am allowing for the imperfections of others in a newfound way because at the end of the day, we're all just looking for permission to still be students, all running within our own minds, messy manhunt for meaning, all just trying to do the best we can. It isn't the sexiest or most sensational revelation in the world, but it is the most basic truth. Because when we judge, we rob someone of their depth. We make humanness something that we forget. Will you allow yourself to be humbled by the fact that that waitress might be the most ambitious person you've ever met? She's just using this job to supplement her dreams, that those prisoners have people who look up to them. They've just made some mistakes or been victims to a system that is fooling all of us, that maybe your Uber driver is the kindest person in the world, but not everyone's body works the same way yours does. When did we decide that it's not okay to be multidimensional beings? We are all here together, having 7 billion individual perceptions about what is happening. So let's assume that everyone has something brilliant to teach us, and see if your judgment ends where you allow curiosity to begin. Thank you.